the November 22nd, 2016 City of Hollister Planning Commission meeting. May I have the verification of agenda? Oh, actually, we have election of officers here. I didn't even notice that. Election of officers. I do have a nomination for Carol Lenore to be chairman. Do you have a second on that?
I got a second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Carol.
I'm a little nervous, but I know I got to do it.
Okay. Officer.
Thank you. And thank you for all you did there to sitting by me, listening to me.
So we have to have a nomination for vice chair.
Okay. Oh, I got to switch our name tags. Abraham. Okay.
We'll wait for the nomination
right.
of vice chair so we can.
So I'd like to open the nominations up for vice chairman.
Chris, are you? I nominate Chris Alvarez for vice chair.
I'll second
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
that. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Chris.
Congratulations.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay, get my things here. Was that my agenda? Did I leave it? Yeah. Okay. Well, first I want to say I'm very proud to be the chairman of the City of Hollister Planning Commission. I got to tell you, Big Reed, I love you. That was from my mother. And she was on the Board of Supervisors for 4 terms, and never in my imagination would I feel like I had a gavel in my hand. Maybe not as powerful as her, but still I'm proud to be here. Okay. I had to say that for my mother. Okay. All right, so now we have a call to order.
I already did that.
Okay, sorry. Verification of agenda posting, please.
Good evening. The agenda was posted on Tuesday, November 15th at 4:38 p.m.
Okay. Pledge of Allegiance. David Dupont, will you lead the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Yes. Chris Alvarez.
Here.
David Huboy.
Here.
Gabriel Torres.
Here.
Johnny Rosa.
Here.
Carol Lenore.
Here. Okay, so we have this roll call. Approval of minutes for August 25th.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Also, the approval of September 22nd minutes.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. So we have communications from the public on items not listed on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards, Abraham or Brian? From the communications from the public? Okay. So then we're going to move into public hearings.
Chairperson.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I will need to recuse myself
Okay.
on item number 1.
Okay. So he's going to step away and we'll move on. Okay, so we have a lengthy item here. We have a pre-zoning 2014-9 with a general plan amendment 2014-1 for de novo homes. They're requesting from the Planning Commission for the approval of it. Also, recommendation to the City Council for the approval of a sphere of influence amendment, pre-zoning for a future annexation, general plan amendment, and a rezone from high-density residential to medium-density residential. Let's see. Okay, it's a very long item. Within the unincorporated, okay, so there is, do I read the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let me get to the rezoning for future annexation, general plan amendment and rezone from HDR to MDR, which requires 8 to 12 units per net acre. and an environmental impact report on approximately 81.01 acre site located on the northwestern intersection of North Street and the Southern Pacific Railroad, partially within the city of Hollister and partially within the unincorporated portion of San Benito County, being, however, specifically described as assessors parcels numbers 533737, 533738, 191326, 191327. The site is located in a high density residential zoning district of City of Hollister. CEQA is an environmental impact report. If you could give us the staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
you.
Yes, the project site consists of 4 contiguous parcels, approximately 81.01 acres total. As you have mentioned, 2 parcels are within the city limits and consist of approximately 23.1 acres. And that is, on the screen, you'll see those on the colored in green, the straight lines in green. That's a 23.11 acres in the city of Hollister. And the site also consists of 2 parcels in the unincorporated area of the county of San Benito and partially outside of the sphere of influence. And you can see those on the screen as well in the diagonal blue lines. You can also see the existing sphere of influence kind of traverses about the middle of the project site. And the request is also to extend the sphere of influence to encompass the entire project site, approximately 81.01 acres. The project applicant ultimately would like approval of a vesting tentative map for the residential improvements of the approximately 81.01 acre site. However, tonight's public hearing will not consider the tentative map, but only the recommendation of the pre-zone for annexation of the 57.90 acres currently located in the unincorporated area of San Benito County. And again, that's the area that's in diagonal blue lines on the screen. And also tonight, it's also not only the pre-zoning, but the general plan amendment of all 4 parcels, including the expansion of the sphere of influence to encompass the entire project site. And also tonight, we're going to be listening to the environmental impact report and mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the recommendation to the city council. So it's essentially 3 items: the pre-zoning for the 57.9 acres, the general plan amendment from high density residential, which requires 12 to 35 dwelling units per acre, to medium density residential, which requires 8 to 12 dwelling units per acre, and the recommendation of the Planning Commission to the City Council for the environmental impact report and mitigation monitoring and reporting program. I do also want to make sure, be clear that pending City Council approval, once it gets to the City Council, if it gets your blessing, and pending City Council approval of the pre-zone and the general plan amendment, staff will then schedule a public hearing for the tentative map back with you at the Planning Commission here. And that will also consist of a public hearing, notification will be sent out, and so forth. Regarding the general plan amendment 2014-1, and regarding the pre-zoning, per section 1724-250B and section 1724-290 of the Hollister Municipal Code, the Director of the City of Hollister Development Services Department shall first submit a complete application for the initiation of pre-zoning and the initiation of the general plan amendment to the City Council for Council to direct whether the pre-zoning and the general plan amendment will or will not proceed. The City Council authorized the initiation of application for pre-zoning application 2014-9 per resolution 2015-9 and authorized the initiation of the application for general plan amendment number 2014-1 per resolution number 2015-10 on January 20th, 2015. So the initiation for both the pre-zoning and the general plan amendment have been submitted to the City Council, and the City Council has approved the initiation. Regarding the general plan amendment now, the general plan amendment includes expanding the city's sphere of influence to include the area of the project site that is outside of the sphere of influence in unincorporated San Benito County, and to change the city's land use designations on the entire approximately 81.01 acre site from high density residential to medium density residential. Now, Due to the topographical limitations of the project site and presence of known earthquake fault traces, residential development would occur on approximately 42.44 acres of the entire 81.01 acre project site. That's as of right now. Currently, the site is being evaluated by the city's geologist as well as the applicant's geologist, and there is some fault investigation that's going on. There may be that there is additional fault, and the map may change. So out of the 42.44 acres, I think it may be that there's going to be actual less developable land. But we will not get that until the actual tentative map comes in later on, pending approval of the pre-zone and general plan amendment. But what we would like to indicate is that a high-density residential zoning designation of 12 to 35 dwelling units per net acre would require between 509 residential units to 1,485 residential units within the buildable area of 42.44 acres of land. Now, a medium density residential designation, as is what the applicant is proposing to do, changing it from high to medium, would require 8 to 12 dwelling units per net acre. As you can see in your screen, that'll change from the requirement of between 339 residential units and 509 residential units per net acre. So although the tentative map is not being considered for review and approval tonight, the tentative map that has been submitted to the city for the project site corresponds with an aggregate overall residential net density of 8.08 acres, dwelling units per acre. Yes?
It's, I think it's meant to read 339 to 509 per the 43 acres, wherever.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
1 acre. It's just we know what you're inferring to, but it's not written correctly.
Is here
It's
up
not
here?
to 1 net acre. It's for the developable, the 40,
Correct.
whatever that 43 or whatever acres.
Correct.
It's a
Commissioner
minor
Huber.
point, but yeah.
So under the medium density residential, as you can
42.4.
see here, it's 339 to 509 for the 42.44.
42.4.
Correct.
They say, well, it needs to be, it's incorrect, but we know what it's inferring. It's inferring to the 42.4, not 1 net acre.
42.44.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
42.44, Chairman, Commissioner Huber. Yes, that's correct. Very well. So although the tentative map is not being considered for review and approval tonight, what they have submitted so far, and we'll show you that, even though it's not being considered tonight, we'll show you that just for your review of it. Even though you're not going to take action, you'll see it. And currently they're proposing 8.08 dwelling units per net acre. But we'll see that in a little bit. The sphere of influence, the amendment to the sphere of influence is necessary to expand the sphere of influence to the project site areas that are not currently within the sphere of influence. As you can see, the existing sphere of influence right now traverses about half of the project site. So in order for the developer to submit for residential development consistent with the general plan, LAFCO is required to first expand the sphere of influence to encompass the whole project site. So part of the application is also a request to expand that sphere of influence. And that's also part of what you're deciding tonight to recommend to the City Council. Therefore, pending the general plan amendment, a request will be submitted to San Benito County LAFCO to modify the sphere of influence. The sphere of influence expansion request is part of the general plan amendment application submitted and being reviewed tonight. The proposed project includes pre-zoning the 57.90 acres of the project site that are outside of the city limits identified on the diagonal blue lines on the map to medium density residential performance overlay zone R3 MPZ to be consistent with the general plan designation of medium density residential. And again, pending your recommendation to the City Council and pending the City Council approval of the pre-zone, then an application will be sent to LAFCO for the annexation of the unincorporated area. So essentially, it's 57.9 acres in the county. So next steps, basically tonight, planning commissioners, it's the request to recommend to the city council the pre-zoning for annexation, the rezone, and general plan amendment from high-density residential to medium-density residential, and the environmental impact report to recommend to the city council. City council, then if you do give it the blessing tonight, then the city council will have 2 meetings. And again, the first reading will be public noticed as well in the paper and to the public as well. And the first reading will be to introduce the ordinance, to introduce the pre-zoning and the general plan amendment, and to determine whether to adopt the environmental impact report. The second reading at the following city council meeting will be to take action of whether or not to adopt the ordinances. Pending city council adoption of the ordinance, the city will apply to LAFCO for the annexation of the 57 acres. So when that occurs, if that occurs, then the tentative map request in the major subdivision will be scheduled for a public hearing with the Planning Commission.
As mentioned previously by Abraham, am I on?
Yeah.
In the project description, the request for tonight is neither for the tentative map nor the conditional use permit for the plan unit development. Pending adoption of the EIR and MMRP, the general plan amendment, and the pre-zone and rezone of the subject properties by City Council, staff will conduct a public hearing with the Planning Commission on the tentative map and conditional use permit for a plan unit development. Development of the project site consists with the vesting tentative map will result in potential subdivision of a variety of residential lots that will range between 3,230 square feet to 5,000 square foot lots, a minimum of 60 multifamily residential units as well. Other features could potentially include about 4.47 acres of parks and trails with fitness stations throughout the trail and a trail connection to Vista Park Hill from the project site, which is approximately 24 acres of open space on an on-site water quality retention basin and several new roads providing access to the development as well. The project's internal roadways will have connections to the future North Street extension along southern boundary. With the planned extension, a continuous roadway will be provided connecting Buena Vista Road and Santa Ana Road. North Street currently consists of a short roadway segment between Monterey Street and San Benito Street, which is east of the project site. Construction of the 2-lane extensions of North Street between Locust Avenue and Monterey Street is planned to occur concurrently with the project as well. North Street shall be constructed in its full width, constructed with a minimum of 84-foot right-of-way and a minimum of 64-foot curve-to-curve dimension. Additional pavement width may be required to accommodate the 2 travel lanes, parking if allowed, bike lanes, and any other facility required for this roadway. Construction should also include the installation of street lighting, underground infrastructure for water, sewer, and storm facilities where necessary. And then following, I'm just going to go through an outreach process timeline. On January 2015, the City of Hollister published a public notice on the Freelance newspaper and sent out notification of a notice of preparation of a draft environmental impact report for the proposed project to the State Clearinghouse and all responsible agencies and neighbors in the vicinity of the project site. The city received multiple comment letters from responsible agencies, including the school district, Caltrans, the Air District, and others, as well as from multiple neighbors in the vicinity of the project. The comment letters and responses to these can be found in the draft EIR impact report. On March 28th of 2016, the City of Hollister completed the draft environmental impact report and published a public notice on the Freelance and sent out notifications of a notice of availability for a draft environmental impact report for the proposed project to the State Clearinghouse and all responsible agencies, and translated the notice of availability in Spanish and mailed it to their neighbors in the vicinity of the project site. The comment period for the notice of availability of the draft EIR was a total of 45 days. The city received multiple comment letters from responsible agencies as well from multiple neighbors in the vicinity of the project. The comment letters and responses to these can be found in the final EIR as well. Then on August 5th of 2016, the City of Hollister completed the final EIR and sent out notification of a notice of availability for the final environmental impact report to all responsible agencies who commented in the draft DIR and translated the notice of availability in Spanish and mailed it out to neighbors in the vicinity of the project site. On October 5th of 2016, the applicant, which is Gov Homes, held a community meeting in the building at the Dunn Park to represent the project to the public and address the public comments and questions. Notification of the community meeting was sent out in English and Spanish beyond the minimum 300-foot radius requirement. And finally, on November 11th, 2016, the City of Hollister published a public notice with the Freelance newspaper for the Planning Commission meeting of tonight for the Gov Homes project. On Thursday, November 10th, notification of the meeting was sent in English and Spanish to neighbors beyond the 300-foot radius requirement as well.
Thank you, Maria. At this time, staff would like to direct your attention to the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program and Mitigation Measures T5 and Mitigation Measures T6 located on page 425. And these are just basically mitigation measures that indicate the reimbursement process for the construction of North Street if pending the approval of the tentative map. The North Street extension, as Maria mentioned in the staff report, has been considered by the City of Hollister, and so there will be some reimbursement that's going to be made to the applicant pending the improvements by the applicant of North Street. And so we just want to make sure that in these mitigation measures T5 and T6, the phrase would be the following phrase be included: reimbursement costs shall be determined by the city engineer. That's essentially it. I mean, it doesn't specify specifically what the reimbursements are going to be in the mitigation measures. We don't have that at this time, but we want to make sure that there is a phrase in there that indicates reimbursement costs shall be determined by the city engineer. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and consider recommending to the City Council the following. 1, a resolution recommending to the City Council the adoption of the Environmental Impact Report and Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. 2, a resolution recommending to the City Council approval of General Plan Amendment Application 2014-1. And 3, a resolution recommending to the City Council approval of pre-zone and rezone application 2014-9, subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. Are there any questions for staff?
No. From me. Anybody? Questions for staff? Okay, having no questions, well, I'll open up the public hearing at 6:27. Is there any speaker cards?
Yes, we have one. Ms. Catherine Sanchez.
Okay.
My name is Catherine Sanchez. I live at 410 North Street. And my comment is on the CEQA Environmental Impact Report. I've noted that before to the staff in letters from the neighbor. And I want you to know I still don't believe that the Southern Pacific Railroad, being so close to the houses that you're proposing, is, I guess, appropriate. The report talks about how the sound of the train is not so much as to be a concern. But I live on North Street. I hear the train. And I'm thinking if homes are built right next to it, it's going to be even worse than what I hear. So I've read the answer, and the scientific studies say it's okay. But I'm here at the public hearing to say I disagree. I think that noise from that train, it's not a good place to put houses that you're going to charge $400,000 or whatever for. That train noise. Maybe think of doing something else. But I want to record that. And then I
Okay.
also am very glad you did it in Spanish. And
Good.
I've been here years ago when we were considering the North Street, and that notice didn't go in Spanish. And remember, it's a policy item. So years have gone by. I'm thinking your policy must have changed, and now you have it in Spanish. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's very necessary.
Hi, I'm sorry I didn't get a card. I wasn't aware that that was part of your procedure. I'm Dana Cleary. I'm Director of Real Estate Development for CHISPA. And we have been speaking with the applicant about developing the inclusionary portion of this development on parcel C there. Yeah, thank you.
Which parcel is it?
It's that round one there
Okay.
that he's circling.
Okay.
And it would be the multifamily portion. I think Abraham mentioned a minimum of 60 units as part of your inclusionary requirement. So we're building Buena Vista Apartments just down the street on the
yep.
other side of the cemetery. So this would be a good location for us to be able to manage them both efficiently. So we look forward to moving forward when all of this work that you're doing is complete. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Could you clarify for me again on that one parcel there for the inclusionary housing? What, can you explain that to me?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. Parcel C, at this time, what Ms. Dana Cleary was indicating is that they've been in contact with the developer, the Nova Homes, with the potential developer, the applicant, the Nova Homes. And at this time, Parcel C is approximately a little bit over 2 acres. And what they would like to do is provide for a more of a multifamily component to the project. I know the word requirement for inclusionary was mentioned, but as you well know, the City of Hollister does not have an inclusionary zoning ordinance. However, because of the designation of being medium density resident or high density and being considered to be medium density residential, and because of the city's performance overlay zone, the city can actually work with potential developers to reduce minimum lot sizes and to accommodate a variety of housing. Maria mentioned in her part of the staff report that this project is going to be proposing lot sizes that are standard, approximately 5,500 square feet, but also they're going to be they're proposing 3,230 square foot, 4,000 square foot, and a little bit over 4,000 square foot lot. So it's a variety of, it's a mixture. And not only that, but they're also talking with the CHISPA company to potentially develop Parcel C, as you can see in the screen, for a potential multifamily and include a minimum of 60 multifamily dwelling units. So one of the things that we wanted to see, and we contacted the applicant and asked, how, because of the constraints of the fall, we wanted to see how more or less would you design it. Can you provide us with a preliminary design of how the units will be positioned in Parcel C? And so they provided us with the following plan showing potential locations for ingress and egress that would connect to a proposed road, and also they provided with potential elevations for the site as well to accommodate the 60 multifamily units. We know that CHISPA is a nonprofit organization that is in the business for building affordable housing, and so that is what they're proposing at this time. Tonight we won't vote on deciding architectural, but this is just for informational purposes only. You're welcome.
Do we have any more comments from the public? Anybody else wishing to speak? Well, yes, I do.
I didn't fill out a card either. Usually the applicant gets first speaks. I don't know. Guess here we fill them out. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
I do want to say congratulations on your new position.
Thank you.
And to you too, Vice Chair, Commissioners. I am Michael Evans with DeNova Homes. How are you this evening?
Great.
Good. As you can see, it's a very challenging site. There's a lot of topography and geological restraints and different things that we have on the site. But for the last couple of years, we've been working with staff, and it's a pleasure to be up in front of you, to be at this point finally to get the CEQA documents. the general plan designation and the rezones and everything ironed out. It's very exciting for us at DeNova, and we're looking forward to this project coming to your city. There was a couple things that were mentioned here tonight about the mitigation measures. I have a couple comments myself. There was a mitigation measure in the air quality section of the EIR, and it was the AQ2 section, section 4.4F. It's requiring that we plant perimeter trees on the project under construction to help keep the dust out of the, I guess it would be the farm fields adjacent to us. And I thought that was kind of peculiar, because I've never seen that in all my days. So I called the Air Quality Control Board, and I talked with Mr. Robert Nunez, who is the director for air quality, and he's a planner there. And I asked him, where did this air quality mitigation measure come up from, and he had no idea. It wasn't anything by his request or his doing. So I think that might have got slipped in by maybe one of our consultants that wrote the EIR. I've never heard of it, and I kind of think it's maybe we could have that removed from a mitigation.
You're talking about the whole mitigation measure AQ2?
No, just the section F.
F, okay.
Where it requires that we plant perimeter trees on the site.
I know, I read that.
Okay.
I was wondering.
I thought it was a little bit strange. So we've never heard of that in all my years. We do our best management practices and implement the watering, the dust control, the covering of the site, and certain winds come up. If they get 15, we agree with all that. That's our best management practices we use all the time.
Okay.
So I'd like to see if we could have that one removed. And then tonight I just heard about the T4 and T5 request about reimbursements to be determined by the city engineer. I don't have a problem with that. I think we might want to add to that and say to be determined by the city engineer on all off-site requirements by the city that's applicable. Because we are required to go ahead and tie in North Street and do our improvements on our side of the street to provide improvements and tie in to Buena Vista. And we've been requested to help do full improvements by a CIP project that was done by the city with an EIR back in 2004 or something for the development of North Street. We do not have a problem with that. It's just we want it to be a little bit more fair to who determines what and what's reimbursable when it comes to us. So if we could maybe tune that mitigation measures so that's applicable to the off-site stuff that's required by the city, that we wouldn't have a problem with. I know, but I just... Thank you, Brad. I'm also here to answer any questions in particular that you have about the site that I might be able to clarify. I don't know if there's any more public comment, but if you'd like me to come back after it's closed to clarify or clear anything, I'd be more than happy to also.
Thank you. Guess we're good until we discuss it.
Okay.
My guess about the perimeter trees, is that just when the winds, is that kind of shielding the farm?
I wish we had an aerial. I wish you had an aerial site of it. But everything on the west side of the project between us and say the cemetery and the farm fields and Chispa's project, there's a row of beautiful eucalyptus trees that are probably 200 feet tall that make a great windbreak for the situation that we're at now.
They are there.
Yeah. And the topography of the lot, there's 60 foot of difference from the lower half of the project, which is down by, let's say, the railroad track area that the young lady was talking about, versus the top. There is so much difference in height. I don't really think you're going to get much of a wind other than maybe at the top of a crown of a hill, but we're going to be taking care of that with our best management practices. So,
okay.
Yeah. And my thought was if they request to plant a 15-gallon tree on the perimeter, it's going to take us approximately 4 months to do the whole entire site to where we're putting improvements and paving in. That tree won't even grow an inch at that point in time by the time we even get off the site. So that was just my thought. Anyway.
Do we have any other questions for Mike? Okay, not right now?
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the commission? Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 6:39, and we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Well, I guess what we were thinking about when we did the general plan back in 2004 was to have the high density in approximation to the North Gateway commercial, to have that symbiotic relationship, if you will. But one of the things that, and I really think I really liked the general plan that we did. But one of the things that is missing is the Alquist-Priola zone map. So, and because it doesn't really address where these fault traces are. So I think that when we do the new general plan update, I think what we really need is we need to look at the current fault traces.
Well, that's why they're in a trench up there.
Yeah, and that's what we need to have in the general plan. We should have a map that would show that we can't really. It's a findings is that we can't do the high density residential because of the topography and the fault trace.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and the faults.
have
So I mean
more,
this is something to be
more
mindful about
expanded,
when we do our
yes.
update. We need
Okay.
to
I
look
agree.
at that.
I agree.
It's a forced issue. I don't see any way around it. I think that they have to modify the sphere of influence because they have to do the annexation, and then they have to they only can do medium density residential because of the topography and
Right.
the earthquake fault.
Okay,
See,
so we'll remember that. Any
those
other
are my comments.
comments?
Yeah, I have a comment regarding the trail to Park Hill. Was that going to be included in the EIR as well?
Thank you, Commissioner Johnny. The trail is going to be included more when we see the tentative map as a condition of approval. Even though we will require them to show it on the tentative map, we will still include a condition of approval for that. Yes.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
I guess we're looking at separate motions for the mitigated monitoring, the CEQA, and then
There'll be 3 resolutions.
then the pre-zone, and then the general plan amendment. I will have questions when they come back to us for the site and architectural conditional use permit for the tentative map.
Very well.
And one of the questions I will have about is affordability for these
Very well.
Housing units.
Very well.
I want to note that on mitigation measure N1, it has the responsible party as Gilroy Engineering Division. So that's probably just a typo there.
Yes. Thank you
Change
for.
that. I have a comment. I've adjusted to the smaller lot because I know that we need to get a more affordable component in the city's inventory, and I've come to terms with that. But what I'm still not seeing is rental housing for regular folks, for not low income, CHISPA, the income limiting housing. So we have this MDR. So where's the duplex kind of thing? Where's the rentals that this community is so lacking? Not everybody can buy a house. So I still don't see any rental housing for regular folks that are working and don't qualify for the lower income. I wondered if there would be any plans. I know you haven't done your tentative map yet, and you are going to have these MDR lots. Does it all have to be single family for sale? We used to build duplexes back in the day. That's probably why we have the little bit of resident rental that we have now. Somehow we got away from doing that. I don't know if it just doesn't pencil, but we need it. And I'm going to put that on the record. Yes.
So I'm a homeowner with R1. I
Can you step up to the podium? Yeah. So we have it on the record.
Well, on the record, I'm a homeowner that's R1, and I would love to have an easy way that I could understand to become R2, and I would then have, I would think that's what it means then, that I could put a duplex on my lot if I ever did, or that if I sold it to whoever bought it could put a duplex, tear down my house, whatever. But I'm R1, and I think I forever will be.
Well, yeah,
So
you
make
kind of will be, because when
Yeah.
they did the general plan, they designated your neighborhood for a single family. But you do have the options of secondary units if your lot is large enough.
Yeah.
But you can't spot zone like that. If you're going to have R2, you got to have it everywhere.
Well,
Yeah.
that's my idea. You know,
But you
want-
do have
wanna
the
think of
opportunity
people
to
who've
have a
gotta
second
rent?
unit. Okay?
Put it out there.
Okay.
R2 for the
Yeah.
future.
Okay. Which
Mrs.
is kind
Sanchez?
of like a medium.
Ms. Sanchez? Mrs. Sanchez, could you please?
We actually had the public hearing closed. But
I just want to ask a question.
Okay.
Were you okay with the response from the association here that wants to build? Are you?
I don't have any red lights going off because DeNova is applying. I understand we got to go for the future.
Mhm.
And I appreciated that public meeting they had a few weeks ago. And I'm hearing they're going to do their best about mitigating when they construct. And just, it's the future. So,
Okay, well, that's important to me because I represent that area.
Yeah.
And, I want to make sure that you people that have been there a long time are, taking care of, all of your concerns are
we have
taken and thought through and that we make sure we do that project right.
Thank you.
You
The
know.
letter, then the draft EIR that the neighbors signed, I think had a lot of our concerns, and then the neighbors signed another letter that was in the EIR about the one that I think is before you now, the final one. So, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
okay.
I just wanted to clarify too the comment about the railroad, just because she didn't really say what it said. It does say in there, the CEQA says that you can judge a project on the environment, but you can't judge the environment on a project. So that's the reason for that. I just wanted to say that was the answer that they wrote in the final EIR. If that makes sense to you guys.
Chair, Madam Chair, also to add to that, and again, this is not part of the tentative map, but there will be a fence that they would propose along the west elevation of proposed J Street. Basically, if you see on the map, all along the west elevation of J Street.
Right.
And so currently our fence standards are at maximum height of 6 feet with an additional 2 feet of lattice material. Again, it's not for conditioning for the tentative map at this time. I'm not sure if the Planning Commission, in response to Ms. Sanchez, who I do want to commend her as well, because since the very beginning, notice of preparation, she's been one of the first ones who's called the Planning Commission with concern and submitted writing and pictures of concern with neighbors' signatures. So there will be a fence there. Whether or not you wanted to have sound attenuation or not, that's up to you at that point. But I do want to indicate that that's what's being
Okay.
considered at this
I
time.
would be interested in that.
And when we look at the development of this project as a design development, there are ways to attenuate the sound with the actual design of the units themselves. So
Very,
that's
yes.
what remains to be seen.
Yes.
Well, I'm very excited to see North Street go through. Looked at the plan line today. Am I correct? Will it have street, gutter, sidewalk, street on both sides?
You're
Because we
correct.
couldn't exactly see that on both sides.
That's correct.
So it is
Madam
going to
Chair.
be curb, gutter, sidewalk, all
Minimum.
the way from San Benito
Minimum of
to whatever, Locust right there, North Street.
a minimum of sidewalk, curb, and gutter
It's all going to connect to San Benito Street.
to the frontage. It will connect to.
It's going to go all the way through, right?
It will connect to the existing sidewalk on where the Union Pacific, and then from there it basically connects to San Benito as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there'll be sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
There's going to be a bike lane?
There will be, right now, according to the 2009 Master Bike and Pedestrian
Right.
Plan, there will be a Class 2 bike lane
Okay.
in that.
And then they have a
location.
clear shot all the way to Calaveras on the south side.
On the south side, there will be a clear shot all the way to Calaveras.
Okay.
Unfortunately, on the north side,
Yeah.
the sidewalk on as proposed on North Street Extension would end at where the cemetery, the IOOF cemetery. Because it's county, there's no
Yeah.
sidewalk there, and then
Right.
it picks up again at the Chispa development
Right.
that's being
I think somebody needs to build a sidewalk there. Yeah.
for arguably that's what the safe paths
Right.
to school should indicate and should say,
Right.
and so
But
yeah.
at least we have it on the north side, so.
south side.
South side, excuse me. Okay, any other comments on any of the three items?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
to Commissioner Rosa's question about CEQA, I don't know if that was answered or if the question, were you asking if the bike or the trail to Park Hill required additional review?
Or to be included into the
It didn't need to be included. It can be this way. It wasn't reviewed because it came up afterwards, and it does not need to be. I mean, it's not a significant change. It's probably something that if the applicant had thought of, he would have included, but it doesn't need additional
Okay,
review.
thank you.
Thanks for that clarification, Brad.
Okay, anybody else? So we're going to
For
take.
further comments.
What's that?
I don't have any other
Okay.
comments this time.
Am I correct in assuming that we'll take the motions to any resolutions in the order of the EIR and mitigation monitoring, and then the sphere of influence and general plan amendment, and the last one being the pre-zoning and rezoning?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Okay.
What is the resolution number for the EIR and the mitigation monitoring?
It would start with resolution number 2016-29.
2016-29. I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2016-29 and adopt the environmental impact report, mitigation monitoring with the revisions to T5 and T6, that the reimbursement cost to be determined by the city engineer as applicable. And there was a
The deletion of F on the mitigation, AQ2. The planting of the trees.
yes, the planting of the trees.
We're all in agreement. Okay.
I guess we're in agreement on that. Okay. And the deletion of that provision in the air quality about the planting of the row of trees.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay, and then we have the next item up for the general plan amendment and the extension of the sphere of influence. I entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the general plan amendment and the adjustment of the sphere of influence and recommend that to the city council. Did I see that correct?
That's
It's been a while
correct.
since I made a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second for the general plan amendment and extension of sphere of influence. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The third item will be the pre-zoning and the rezoning from HDR to MDR.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make that motion to approve the pre-zone resolution 2014-9 and approve the transition of the high-density residential to medium-density residential and make that recommendation to the city council.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. There you go.
Congratulations.
Welcome. Congratulations. Is this the Hart property? And he passed now, right? Well, God bless him because he was there for a very long time, and I wished he could have been here to see his approval tonight. But I tell you what, I think the project's in some good hands. So good luck on your project.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Good luck.
That was a big one. For my first one.
Good job. You're doing good,
I
Carol.
hope
I'm
we get a
proud of
good
you.
product up there. I'm a little nervous. Okay, so moving on to item number 2 from the City of Hollister. That's the applicant. We have a request to vacate an 82,280 square foot public right-of-way. It's over there on McCrae Street, just south of the...
Madam Chair, Commissioner Alvarez just...
We forgot about him. I'll get him. We did that before.
I didn't know.
Carol, it's such a big hurry.
He's meditating back there.
Almost moved on without this. Come on in.
Commissioner Alvarez, good.
I wasn't sure if he was still be able to come out.
I almost left you in the
Sorry,
room
Gabriel.
there.
Hold your way.
Put your ear up against the door.
I sat in there before.
I've been there so many times. I lost count.
I know.
Oh, boy. Okay. Welcome back,
Okay,
Gabriel.
what happens if I forgot to say something and now they're gone? Can I put it for the record? I can't do it now, huh? Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm going to say it.
Billy's
Because
getting
maybe
it.
it's going to be, this was important and I meant to say it. The hours of operation, I think, are too lengthy from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the construction time. I don't like it. I've lived next to Del Carlos project, love those guys, but it's been a lot of noise. And I think before 8's not good. Okay, so
You should do that during your reports.
Can I? Okay, okay. So moving on to item number 2, we have a request from the City of Hollister to vacate an 82,280 square foot public right-of-way on McCrae Street for the future development by a private developer. And you know, it's the one just south of our new Les Schwab tire service. So if we could have the report, please. Oh,
Do you mind?
I don't mind.
Madam Chair and Planning Commission, really this is a pretty simple process. You've done this a couple of times in the past with Walgreens and with Les Schwab. The City of Hollister is asking for your consent on vacating a piece of real estate that's owned by the City of Hollister, currently used as right-of-way. We intend to sort of relocate what is currently McCrae Street to the west, which would be incorporated in sort of the Complete Streets program with the parking lot at Rancho San Justo. The property would then be sold through an RFP process. We designated it as no further public use, so we can go ahead and sell that property. We have an appraisal on the property at about $4.75. The process is essentially that we release the RFP to potential developers. They respond to that RFP. Their minimum bid has to be at least $4.75. They can bid more, but they cannot bid less. They incorporate that with a proposal or a project that's designated that the City Council actually has the ability to say yes or no to. I don't know if you remember the way the Walgreens went down, is that there was a Walgreens and Denny's vying for that same piece of property. The Denny's was going to pay substantially more for that property. However, the council at that time determined that the Walgreens was a much more viable project, and they went ahead and went that direction instead of the Denny's. So, needless to say, we're moving along after Les Schwab. We're going the next about almost 2 acres, so with that being said, it'll hopefully you'll see the site and architectural, you'll see the way the layout of the new road is. Hopefully the intersection at Prospect, McRae, and Park gets cleaned up a bit, so you don't have that kind of awkward 5 or 6 sort of road intersection. So hopefully we can do something that's a little bit better with that. We may also be looking at, there is a potential owner on the property north of Park who may be asking for the purchase of the right-of-way, and that McRae Street actually may be purchased as well at some point in the future. But right now, it's only to Park Street.
Okay.
So if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. But you should be seeing something coming shortly, depending on what the council decides.
As in a site and architectural?
Yes, yes.
So somebody's going to do something there?
Very likely, very soon.
What's the zoning, Bill?
Oh, that's the other part that you guys make the determination of. It basically ends up being consistent with what the property to the east is, which was commercial. Yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, is this a public hearing?
Yes, I will also mention that the City Council heard the item last night, basically the same item that you're hearing. It's kind of contingent upon your approval as well, and then they also approved the staff to release the RFP. So once we get your blessing tonight, we'll probably release the RFP by Monday, Tuesday at the latest of next week, and we should have that back fairly soon.
Okay. Thank you for the staff report. So I'll take this. Do we have any questions? Okay, so I'll open the public hearing for this item at 6:59. Do we have any speaker cards? Anybody in the audience wishing to speak? We have no speakers, so I'll close the public hearing also at 6:59 and bring it back to the commission for discussion. Any comments, concerns?
Straightforward. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Motion to approve vacating McRae Street as presented.
Okay.
Is there a resolution number on that, or is it?
31.
PC resolution.
Yeah.
It's not on the agenda.
2016-31.
Yes,
31,
31,
okay.
because the other one left off at 30, I believe. No, excuse me, 32. 32.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck, City of Hollister. Okay. I look forward to something good there, Billy.
Oh, you are going to be so happy.
Am I?
You will.
I got my family barking down my neck. They want some commercial.
What do they want?
They want everything.
Might see a Denny's over there.
I tell them I'm working on it. The city's working on it. Oh, thank
okay.
you. Something new. Okay, so we have those two public hearings out of the way. We have a new business item, discussion on Assembly Bill 1069.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This Assembly Bill number 1069 is in front of you today. In part, Commissioner Alvarez asked if we can make this request for discussion. We provided you with a summary of Assembly Bill 1069 in your packets, and I'll just start off with the introduction of it, and then it's for discussion purposes amongst you and us as well. Essentially, Assembly Bill 1069, and I'll read a little bit of what it entails. The bill will find and declare that, among other things, allowing accessory dwelling units in single-family or multi-family residential zones provides additional rental housing stock, as you were mentioning earlier, Madam Chair, and these units are an essential component of housing supply in California. So Commissioner Alvarez brought this to our attention about a month ago, and it was signed by Governor Brown and will be in effect starting at the beginning of the year. We haven't really gone together and discussed it amongst staff a lot and with the city attorney to see what kind of changes or implications there will be with the city. But just very briefly, some of the things that are mentioned are, for example, one is require the ministerial approval of an application for a building permit for an accessory second unit. And as you well know, we don't really bring accessory second units to you, so we do it ministerially. So we already do that. However,
I thought we did secondary units through the Planning Commission.
Through the Planning Commission, we do it on appeal. If there's an appeal, we bring them to the Planning Commission. But at this time, what the code reads is that if the lot is at least 7,000 square feet, then they can build an accessory second unit that's no smaller than 150 square feet and no larger than 850 square feet.
Without review from the Planning Commission?
Without review of the Planning Commission. However, we do process it inside, and our Development Review Committee does take a look at it and does comment, and we do provide conditions of approval in the form of a resolution.
So that changed, right? Because we used to review secondary units.
Secondary units.
But not now.
You do review them if a tentative map comes in and accessory second units are proposed as part of the tentative map. That's correct.
But no more conditional use permit for the secondary units?
Correct. It's an administrative permit review. Correct. And we don't have very many of them.
Right.
One reason we think it's because of the impact fees. So we do get various calls of people wanting to do accessory second units, but then when we tell them that the impact fees, what they are, and then when we tell them that really the difference, one of the main differences between an accessory second unit where you will have to pay the impact fees to an addition where you don't have to pay the impact fees is a kitchen. So as long as you don't have a kitchen, you don't have to pay the $40,000 or so in impact fees. So most of the time we see that the property owner goes for the addition instead of the accessory second unit.
We used to call them guest houses, but
that's correct.
They had a very restriction on the size. So
that's
now
correct.
They can not have a kitchen and have a full-on secondary unit size.
As long as the lot is at least 7,000 square feet.
And we lowered that, right?
I believe so. I believe you're
recently. So that was another good thing.
That's
correct. It
correct.
does allow more to do it.
That's correct, Madam Chair. And the restriction still stays at maximum of 850 square feet of livable space.
But that might change because we're looking at what did it say? 1,500, 1,200. In this 1069.
In 1069.
I'll let you finish your staff report.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Some of the lots are big downtown. They could support a little bigger unit.
They could support a little bigger unit.
And about impact fees, I noticed that it says that it doesn't have to have separate utilities now.
That's a good point. Another of our requirements is that the accessory second unit has its own utilities. So it should not meter with the main residential dwelling unit. And so part of this bill, it says the bill would prohibit a local agency from requiring an applicant for this permit to install a new or separate utility connection directly between the unit and the utility or imposing a related connection fee or capacity charge. So they're basically saying that the local agencies shall not prohibit a separate meter.
Yeah.
However, we talked briefly, we haven't really discussed that at full length, but we talked briefly with the city manager, and we were thinking that if that's, and then we haven't talked with the city attorney yet to see how exactly we should codify any potential changes, but we were thinking that for the sake of having each unit have its own meters, utility meters, that if we are going to move on not necessarily charging for, say, sewer and water, if that's based on if that's what we're going to do, if that's what the law is requiring us to do, then maybe what we can do is potentially still allow them to have separate meters, but just not charge them the impact.
That makes sense, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we can do here above and beyond what the law is requiring from us. That's just for consideration.
When do you think that? What's the transition time from this document, this 1069, to our local revisions on our zoning ordinance?
Did this pass already? I'm sorry.
My understanding is that it has.
This has been signed by Governor Brown.
All right.
That's correct.
So
I didn't get a copy of that.
What is the timeline on this?
January 1st, 2017. However, for us, we'll sit down, we'll discuss it, and we will meet with our city attorney and codify it. And as you well know, whenever we do amendments to our code, in this particular case, accessory second units is in Chapter 17, Section 22. And there's subsections A through K that basically states that the lot has to be at least 7,000 square feet, mm-hmm. that the new accessory second unit has to be between 150 and 800 square feet, and it goes all the way down to K. And so what we'll do is we'll look at that section, and if we need to amend any of those subsections, we'll do that. We'll bring it before you again for a review, public hearing, just to provide comments. We'll address it as per the comments, and then bring it back before you. As you all know, it requires a recommendation from the Planning Commission to the City Council, and then the City Council takes 2 readings for adoption of the ordinance to do a change.
So we're looking at, what, 3 or 4 months to...
Potentially can be. Okay. And then from there, there's, after the second reading, 30 days before it takes effect, before it goes into law.
It's interesting that about the parking, because if you're going to, I would imagine that there's going to be contention about parking for
good point
for the secondary units, but we cannot. We are. We really can't. We cannot deny the project because of parking issues.
That's what that's saying.
That's a good point, Madam Chair and Commissioner Huboy. The bill says the summary says the bill would prohibit the imposition of parking standards. So that's part of it as well. So right now we require two parking spaces. So normally the driveway is 2 parking spaces for the project site, and then somebody wants to do an accessory second dwelling unit, then the garage can serve as the other 2 parking spaces. Or if they do have the driveway approach, then we require that they provide some type of garage because the parking that's required is at least one has to be covered. So so with this, now they're trying, because of the need that they're quoting here of rental stock throughout the state of California, it looks like they're trying to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to accessory second units. The parking is a big one. That very big one.
But you said one covered. We don't have any covered parking requirements.
Not for multifamily, but for accessory second dwelling units, Commissioner
We
Boyd,
do.
we do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We do have one, but we try to work with them and use the existing garage as that.
So does this open up the discussion for any review of the fee structures that are tied to this?
It does, and that's one thing that we're going to meet with our city attorney about, to see what type of fee adjustments, if any,
we just got done paying a boatload of impact fees, and I can imagine.
There you go. I think if I might say something, and I know Carol she feels strongly about affordable or workforce housing as I do.
Yeah.
If these are rental, right? These are
for accessory second units only. It's not.
They're all rental, and they under subject to rent control.
My understanding, Commissioner Huboy, is that we cannot, as a city, if we don't, as long as we don't have that requirement, we cannot restrict a property owner either to rent or not to rent. The city attorney can correct me, but that's my understanding, that we can't.
For a unit.
We have out of control rents here. Out of control.
It looks like
I don't know how they pay it. This working family.
You have a good point, Madam Chair.
It's crazy. It's been that way already for 20 years. It was never cheap to rent here in the last 20 years. 30 years back, it was okay. 20, it started getting high, and it still remained high.
Yeah.
It's very high.
Very high.
But it's high everywhere in California.
The other thing I would also say we would look at, too, is maybe having a discussion with PG&E when it comes to those that secondary meter, too, because if we don't require that secondary meter, you're talking about an upgrade to the original residence to almost a 400 amp to accommodate the secondary unit that's going to go to the back.
Oh, that's a good point.
The electrical service, yeah. Well, what's the requirements? 200 amps.
Basic 200 residential amp. You add another house in the back, PG&E is going to say no. Either do a secondary 200 or bump that one to a 400 amp. So
that's a good point, Commissioner Torres. One of the issues that we do see is that sometimes, and that becomes a civil issue when it comes to the disputes. But sometimes we do get a lot of calls from people that indicate that are renting, and so regarding who pays for what. That's why we would encourage separate meters, but we don't have to because of the same reason.
That comes to the overhead service that comes
Correct.
to the actual secondary unit.
Correct, and I mean at that point we tell them it's more of a civil issue, but we do see that quite a bit where renters they want to see an avenue and they come to the city to see if we can help them, and we provide them with resources, but the city can't make that determination. Yeah,
Okay.
but you do bring up a really good point, and we can discuss that at yeah.
Yeah. Controls.
Thank you.
That's what it's all about. I'd like to see this as if we can, the whole intention of this is to provide affordable housing or workforce housing. So I'd like to see this as being a possible housing stock that would satisfy some of our requirements, and meet the needs that stated in our housing element. I mean,
absolutely.
That's what the whole intention
I really
of this
want
is.
this commission to work diligently on recommending, maybe even insisting, that we start getting an affordable product here. And I think we've done good the last 2 years with the smaller lot size and the different types of housing. But again, that's home ownership, and we have a very big void here for rentals. So this is a great tool here. And even if we have to give on some of the things we'd like, we'd still end up with a rental product.
Yes.
Sometimes that's how you got to give a little to get something. And then I want to thank you, Chris, for bringing this to our attention again. I know we talked about it before, and I know you're passionate about the affordable housing because we are natives, and it's tough here as far as getting housing, especially if you work here. But we want to work on that.
On that, I do want to say, I thank Commissioner Alvarez for doing that, and he contacts us pretty often with concerns of his neighbors and so forth, and that's great. So whenever you have an item that you would like to have the planning commission listen to as tonight, we would be happy to do so. And like, for example, in this case, Commissioner Alvarez called us and let us know. In the future, though, just if you were to bring it up, and that way all planning commissioners say, yeah, this is good, let's bring it. That would be the regulated way of doing it. Talking about regulations, we didn't have a planning commission meeting we did cancel a planning commission meeting in October. So that's when Commissioner Alvarez brought it up to our attention. But that's usually the way that we do things. Just we'll discuss it, and then if everybody nods their head, we'll bring it in. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I had one more comment. Also, it said something in the bill, I believe, about possibly bringing illegal units into the fold. Somehow, giving them a little leeway to get. Yeah. Did you read, or have you
caught up on that?
Yeah.
I haven't. I didn't necessarily read it on here, but we do have it, and I believe it's part of our general plan where we should work with existing non-conforming accessory units, property owners that have accessory units that may not be non-conforming. We do have. We know that there's an old town section in the city of Hollister that have residential units that may not be necessarily up to standards, because the building code has evolved and changed. I think we have one of the strictest code in the whole nation. And some of these units were built before the building departments even existed. So yes, it's actually as part of our general plan that indicates that we should look into. I believe the word is amnesty, to look at. Of course, we'll have some of the things that we do now for when people want to do that to their old town homes that have accessory buildings that they want to convert them. Normally, what we do is we'll have Greg, our building official, go out there. He'll take a look and he'll see if it's suitable for a conversion, and if so, then we take the next step on that. So we will at least want to make sure that it's health and safety wise, that it's habitable.
Speaking of health and safety wise, and a lot of these older units were built before the California Residential Code, because we know we have the California Building Code and the California Residential Code that applies to these units. In the 2013 California Residential Code, it states that all single-family and two-family units have to have fire sprinklers.
That's correct.
So we'll see in January, we're going to have new codes. Well, new California Building Code, new California Residential Code. It'd be interesting to see how, with the new California Residential Code, if there's an exception for these secondary or granny units.
That'll be
fire sprinkler requirements.
That'll be interesting to see.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll know soon.
Mm-hmm. Very well.
Okay.
So you'll be seeing that pretty soon from us. And if in the meantime you think of anything else that can be helpful for this, if you catch up on it a little bit more and you have any additional questions that you would like for us to look at or discuss with the city attorney, just give us a call, stop by, shoot us an email. We'd be more than happy to do so. And hopefully you'll see something in the next few months before you, so, some type of draft version.
That's good.
I can just pull this off online because I did not get this in the packet.
It was in as a PDF? Oh, that's right. You get hard copies. You get the hard copies.
I can go online and read about it.
That's where we got it.
Or I'll come and get a copy. Oh, that would be great because I better read it.
I actually went down to Rio's Nice to make a copy for me because my printer was malfunction. I had a computer malfunction.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Good. I'm glad. Yes, I'm glad you were able to be helped. Be more than happy to do so.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion on this item? Okay, we'll move on to department reports.
Madam Chair, I do want to say that we are happy to announce a new member of our team. Finally, after many years, I've been here since May 1st, 2007. 9 months before that, I was an intern, and it was basically always just a colleague and myself. And for a long time, it was Mary Paxton as the planning manager and myself. Then it became Jill and myself. Now, really happy for a little bit over 6 months. It's been Maria and myself in the department, not including the director. And now I would like to present to you our newest member of our team, Christian Bulis. And we're very happy to have him on board. Yes, he's been interning for the city for a few months now. As an engineering tech at the engineering department. He's been doing really great. We opened up the position for assistant planner, which is great, which would add a third planner to our team. And Mr. Bulis applied for the position, and it was a very competitive process. We did get quite a bit of applications and a lot of qualified members, and we're happy to introduce our city selection, Christian Bulis. So I want to welcome him to the team.
Welcome on board, Christian.
Welcome.
I used to work there. So now we have a development services director and 3 planners. Wow. Yeah. And I got to tell you that I really thank the city council. Thank the city council. I never thought the planning was staffed enough for the amount of work that we did. And I got to tell you, people are very concerned about where their city's going.
Yes.
And what I was telling them, because planning is the most important department. Yeah. I know fire and police are, but if I got to go number 3, it's planning because that's who makes your plan.
Yeah.
That's what everybody goes off of. So I'm really happy to see the additional staffing, and I thank the city council for that, and welcome you to the team.
Right.
It's a great place to work.
Yeah. I actually, believe it or not, I was an intern with the City of San Jose Planning Department for a while when I switched careers from art to architecture. But that was back in the days of caves and bear skins and stone knives. So, but I enjoyed it. So welcome, Christian.
I'd like to speak on behalf of the department, and I think we're very fortunate to have Mr. Rosa aboard.
I was going to say
that too.
I was going to, on my report, I was going to welcome Mr. Rosa.
But thank you.
Johnny. It's Johnny, right?
Johnny Rosa.
Johnny, yeah.
Any other department reports?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll move on then to Planning Commission reports.
I have a report now, just to give an executive summary on the joint Planning Commission meeting on Wednesday, on the 16th of November, and Chris Alvarez and also Commissioner Torres was in attendance. And it started off with a presentation from Bill Nicholson from LAFCO. A couple of things that I wrote on his presentation. He referenced LAFCO as the watchdog of government efficiency. don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And also, one of their functions, of course, they look at all the changes in the sphere of influence goes to LAFCO, but they consider housing needs. I didn't really ask him a question on that, but I found that interesting. We had some commentary by John Talia with the Hollister School District.
That's right.
And when he was asking us to be mindful when we go through the general plan update to look for, reserved land for a new school. We had some discussion on infrastructure issues with growth on the Highway 156, 152, and from the county perspective. And then I thought it would be very useful to have an overall blueprint with all what some of the things in the development in the county we don't really give a lot of attention to, and vice versa. I think it would be nice to have an overall master plan of development so we can look on how the development impacts to infrastructure, water, and the environment. I did mention that in our general plan, I know we're still, and you, Abraham, you got up and said we're still, even though that Measure U hasn't been officially withdrawn, we're still under Measure U. We still follow Measure U guidelines for growth. But I mentioned that the only circulation improvement on our general plan that we've gone through since 2004 is the Highway 25 extension. We still haven't done the West Side extension, the Buena Vista Road improvement, Sunny Slope Road, Fairview Road, Union Road. None of that has been done yet. So those are some concerns that we have. And then there was a discussion from Brett Barnes about his idea about mixed use and bringing in economic development. Then Gabriel, of course, then I said, well, we already have mixed use. There's something missing from that formula. Then Gabriel gave some commentary on inclusionary zoning, that the county has tools in their toolbox and we don't. Right, Gabriel? Go ahead and fill in if I'm missing something.
I think with the county having their inclusionary housing ordinance in place and recorded that we are now in a position where we should have something in place as well that mirrors whatever they have on the books. Something that we as a planning commission should start really entertaining.
So that, and I thought that the overall meeting went very well. In fact, they suggested, it was Chairman Pierce, that we have another meeting, and we have that here in our chambers. And I said, well, great, then I can be chairman. But no, that's no longer the case. It'll be Commissioner Lenore will be chairman to conduct that meeting. So, but yeah, I thought the meeting went very well, and I think, Gabriel, did you have any other things that you want to add to it?
I want to thank you guys for attending that. I had an unavoidable absence there. So I really appreciate you carrying on and representing the commission.
Right. And also Maria was there and Brian was there too.
Okay.
And Trish was there. Bill was absent.
Thank you for reporting on that for me, because I really wanted to know.
I'm sure you had a good excuse.
Okay, anybody else have any planning commission reports? So I just want to, as my earlier comment, I want to make it for the record that I will question that time of construction for the de novo homes of 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. When they come back for a tentative map. We can discuss it then, and we'll see if we're in agreement. And then also, I want to welcome Johnny Rosa as our newest commissioner, Carson Clower's appointee. We want to thank you for coming and being a part of the city. I always love to see new people getting involved.
I want to thank Carson for coming to our planning commission meeting. Yes. It's good to have city council people there in attendance.
Did you want to say anything or introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Carol?
Introducing.
Okay.
So I grew up in Gilroy. I moved to San Juan Bautista about 5 years ago. Moved to Hollister 2 years ago. So relatively know the area pretty well. Spent the early part of my career in construction, family business. I actually spent a lot of the early 90s here as a kid in the new development, so know the area pretty well. I work at Lockheed Martin in Sunnyvale, so I'm a program planner there. Different type of planning, but essentially the same, coordinating and organizing.
Right.
So looking forward to this journey here. A little uncomfortable on the first day, but be a little clumsy at first. Thanks for the introduction again.
Thank you so much for coming on board. I really enjoy it up here, so I'm sure you will too. Okay, so then we have I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So we have what?
I was going to say second. I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for adjournment at 7:29. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
I'm new, okay?